Hey everybody, just wanted to talk quickly about what's been happening around what's been termed Golfgate, which is the really scandalous dinner of the Oireachtas Golf Society, which happened on Wednesday night, at which over 80 people were in attendance in very blatant breach of both the new health guidelines, which came out on Tuesday, but also in breach of the health guidelines that have the force of law and that were outstanding from before then even. And the participation of a whole number of figures of the political establishment, most notably so far Dara Calleary, the Minister for Agriculture. Dara Calleary this morning has resigned. I think it simply wasn't tenable for him to continue as minister. It would have the impact of, on a daily basis, undermining the public health advice, because it sends out a very clear message that there is one rule for the political establishment in this country and another rule for everybody else, because he's involved in writing the rules one day and the next day breaks them really brazenly. So I think he clearly had to go. But the question now is, what about the others who were in attendance? What about the Fine Gael EU Commissioner, Phil Hogan? Where the additional question is posed, did Phil Hogan, did he quarantine? Was he coming back from Brussels? And if so, did he quarantine before attending? In which, if he didn't, and he was coming back from Brussels, in which case then he's in breach of not just the health guidelines about how many people can be at one event, and the guidelines about restaurants and not having more than 6 people, because there was 10 people at various tables, but he's also in breach of the quarantine guidelines. It's difficult to see how he can continue as EU Commissioner, but there's also others. There's a very top judge, Seamus Wolfe, who was formerly Attorney General, who was involved in writing the previous rules and the actual regulations around the COVID health guidelines, and a whole series of senators and other politicians. I think in the back of this, really scandalous story, which is a kick in the teeth for ordinary people who are making real sacrifices to try and stop the spread of this virus, who haven't gone to funerals of friends and loved ones, who have had to cancel their weddings because they can't have more than 50 people. In the back of this immediate scandal is something very important, which is a demonstration of how power works in this country, and how the capitalist class who fundamentally runs this country, those who own the banks, the big businesses, the meat factories, the direct provision centre, how these people rule, and the interconnection between the economic establishment, the political establishment, and the media establishment. That is laid bare. So at this event of the so-called Oireachtas Golf Society, which is, do you know what I mean? It's really an event of the establishment. They have an event that blatantly breaks the rules of the health guidelines, because they clearly don't think it applied to them. But look at who is at this event. So you have a senior minister in the form of Dara Calleary. You have a senior EU commissioner in the form of Phil Hogan. You have a very senior judge in the form of Seamus Wolfe. And you have the top banking lobbyist, Brian Hayes, who's the head of the Banking Federation of Ireland, which lobbies on behalf of banks. And there you have it in terms of how this is a golden circle. This is a political and economic establishment who are socially tied together, who share a common worldview, and who represent the interests of the rich in this country as opposed to the interests of ordinary people. And for that reason, there's a lot of calls to recall the Dáil. I agree the Dáil should be recalled, but in my opinion, it's not enough just to recall the Dáil in the sense of the Dáil meets again, but the Dáil should be recalled in the sense that we need an election, and we need the chance to elect a left-wing government, a government with socialist policies, a government that would not rule in the interests of the kind of people who were present at this Oireachtas Golf Society, and they're the people who are currently in charge, but a government that would rule in the interests of ordinary people, those people who are rightly following the public health guidelines, who are rightly making sacrifices, in order to stop the spread of the virus. And immediately, some of the measures that we would do is to shut down meat factories which have incidences of coronavirus should be shut down immediately. Direct provision should immediately be shut down. And so take measures that are in the interests of public health, as opposed to seeking to balance those measures of public health with the interests of private profit, which is clearly present and have significant influence amongst the political establishment, as demonstrated by the attendance at the Oireachtas Golf Society dinner. Thanks a lot, everybody.